Hey everybody, it is Bridgette Lynn Dolgoff, Consciousness of Economics and Urban Farm Project. Anyway, I was up, I usually get up pretty early, maybe like 5:30. Coffee, yay. Anyway, so I got out of bed. I'm kind of on the scary side, but I don't really care. I don't really care what people think anymore, or, their comments or any of that stuff. So I just want to talk about reptilian mind and conflict, drama, and, like the need to be right, force, manipulation, control, cold and calculated, passive-aggressive behavior. A lot of these, behaviors that can come from other people and that we dish out, and they're all survival. They're part of the survival brain. And the left hemisphere has a lot to do with how we relate to survival. So the left hemisphere of our brain is reptilian. I know a lot of people don't really want to talk about this, but it's the honest to God truth. And the right hemisphere is kind of our omnipotent. It is the present moment. If we're going to spontaneously heal, that's where we're going to heal from. But in order to be a whole being, we need to have both sides. The left side deals with the past, it deals with the future, it deals with language, details, technical, how to survive, picking up subtle hints in the survival, even smell and hearing, and your senses can be hypersensitive, but it doesn't mean that you're intuitive. And it doesn't always mean that you're actually picking up, intuitive hits. You're picking up survival hits. So in the right hemisphere is not concerned with any of that stuff because it knows that it is what it is. And it's in the present moment. And it deals with feeling. It deals with what I call drifting through multiple layers of all kinds of different consciousness. It is plugged into whatever you want to call it, the God, the computer, great computer in the sky. It's plugged into all that kind of stuff. And it deals with symbology. So this is where, where the mind control really happens, because everything's symbolic now. But the main point that I want to drive across today is that everywhere I go, in every community there is that I've been in, is this trauma drama, and very left brain reptilian behavior. And because of the stress, that we've been under to get a job, to perform, to be successful, to be better than other people, so that we can, tell other people what to do, we can manipulate them, we can control them, we can jump on their backs to get what we want, and we can take whatever we want from them, in whatever way we can do that. So we get locked into the left hemisphere. And okay, so left hemisphere, how would I know that I'm locked into a left hemisphere and I'm not really operating in any right brain? Because the right brain gets shut down. And then I always have these artists and stuff tell me, oh, I'm artistic. It's like, well, art is a technique. So first, And anything you do in the outside world, in the physical world, is all left brain. That's what this whole deal is about. Right hemisphere doesn't really give a shit about any of that. Right hemisphere just wants to drift in, let's just say, peace and bliss, no light, no sound, being in the present moment, in the now, drifting, drifting through the consciousness. So, and whatever that consciousness is that you're drifting in and through. And sometimes in order to get back to the right hemisphere, you have to go through some pretty dramatic stuff and actually disconnect yourself from the whole reality in order to get to the right brain. But like I said, in this day and age, right brain is not everything. This is why yogis go away from their families and they go into a cave. The sad thing is there isn't a whole lot of practices worldwide or that women have led the way with, going on long indefinite retreats and stuff like that. Things might be a lot different. Women might be, less treated like cattle or breeders or, and would probably treat themselves less that way and more like a conscious being if there were stories about, if there was a woman Buddha, there was a woman Gandhi, there was, and, there are these women in history, but they're very rarely talked about. And there's no centers that are set up for women to achieve a path of higher consciousness. You have to do it. You have to hold on and stick to it in the midst of people telling you that, you're crazy, you lost your mind, you need a man, you need to get married, you're not going to have any security if you're not married. And I'm not saying that, that's a path for everyone, but women, we should have more options. We should create more options for women in the here and now, so that women can explore their multi-dimensional potential and possibilities. We already have the ability to birth, so we could birth into this world unbelievable amounts of technology, ideas, thoughts, consciousness, practices. We are kind of the manifestors in this world. The mana, let's call it the mana. I used to have these teachers kind of in like an ashram setting, and they used to call it the Mana Festival for women. Not the manifest, or not the manifest. Okay, so there might be a part 2 to this video. I don't know, because YouTube only allows me to upload 15 minutes because I have to verify. And even though I verified with my phone, the phone number I have, it's decided that it doesn't really like that phone number anymore, that I have to have a new phone number. It's like, so does that mean I have to go buy a new phone? Get a whole new phone number so that you can verify? So anyway, that's where we're at with that. So, all right. Kind of just decided that I really wanted to talk more about how the brain works. So yogis and stuff like that, which have been mostly men, go off into caves and, find enlightenment. I don't think it would be as hard for women to find enlightenment as it is for men. Even in some of the native culture that I've been in, the medicine people have said, sometimes the lodge and a lot of these other spiritual practices and technology ceremonies are much harder on men and more kind of disciplined and rigorous and tough in order for men to, crack open and move forward. And so in some traditions, women's practices or spiritual stuff, even lodge is more about being together, more about the song, and more about, more about healing work and things like that, and less, pain and suffering. Because we already get it, we already have it in us. It just has to be activated, and making us tougher and more rigorous, and all of those kinds of things, actually could harm us and destroy us, because that's not the feminine nature. Okay, so a lot of what I see in people, especially everywhere I've been, including where I'm at now, is like, people start coming to me to help them, and information and like counseling. I mean, try to do this where you show up on a piece of land and you've got 6 people and you're trying to figure out, I'm just here to do a core food build. I mean, that's what I always tell myself, but I'm like an acupuncture needle for co-creation and the creation of the planet. So wherever I go, it's going to enhance certain kinds of energies and bring a lot of different things to the surface. And spiritual friends of mine always say that I'm like a wrecking ball when I show up. I blast all the belief systems, and then things get, pretty hairy. So we talk back about the left hemisphere and the things that the left hemisphere do. And so we'll see like different kinds of behaviors. Okay, so left hemisphere. How do I know if I'm left hemisphere lateralized or left hemisphere dominant? Well, I'll have some kind of disease, have had some type of injury, probably have some kind of chronic pain, have a lot of stress, probably have some kind of heart stuff, even like VFib, just a lot of different kinds of things going on, probably have, panic attacks. But the left hemisphere deals on its own with reptilian vibrations. So people can be more physically cold. They can be, kind of more protective, like isolate themselves, kind of snaky behavior. And so, so that's how you start to figure out, if you're left brain lateralized. And then there's a whole like onslaught of, you stay acid based in your body, which constantly depletes the calcium from your bones. And you actually start to kind of take on kind of a human reptilian thing. And I think a lot of this has been done on purpose, but at this point in time, it's our responsibility to notice this stuff and change our behavior. Okay, please go to number 2.